Your Excellency Minister Plenipotentiary Dr. Yahya Al-Wafiq Billah, First Undersecretary, Head of the Egyptian Commercial Service, the Arab Republic of Egypt, on behalf of Her Excellency, the Minister of Trade and Industry. Your Excellency, Mrs. Kanayo Awani, Managing Director, Intra-African Trade Initiative. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable guests, welcome to Angola-Egypt Investment Roundtable. My name is Dina Salem, and I'm honored to host this event. First of all, let me walk you quickly throughout the event. We'll be starting with the opening remarks and presentations from our established speakers today, followed by group photos and a short coffee break. And then we'll resume afterwards with more presentations highlighting the investment opportunities and Appraxim Bank products and programs aiming at promoting trade among the African continent. Then we'll move to the closing remarks, and finally the working lunch, which is an extremely important part. There will be time for networking among the business sectors represented today from Egypt and Angola. We do have simultaneous interpretation, as we've mentioned earlier, into English, Portuguese, and Arabic. This event is also streaming live on Appraxim Bank's social media channels. On those channels, the translation will be provided in English and Portuguese. Well, the numbers reveal that there's a lot of potential in promoting trade between Egypt and Angola, as both countries are very rich in many resources. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi said yesterday that Egypt is keen to promote its relations with Angola in various fields, especially with regards to trade and investment, joint security and military cooperation, as well as technical cooperation and capacity building. In that context, Appraxim Bank, in collaboration with the Angolan Embassy in Egypt, are sponsoring the event today to strengthen bilateral relations among both countries. Ladies and gentlemen, let me invite now Mrs. Kanayo Awani, the Managing Director of Intra-African Trade Initiative, Appraxim Bank, for the opening remarks.
Thank you, Director of Programs. And good morning, everybody. Your Excellency, State Antonio, Honorable Minister of External Affairs for the Republic of Angola, Your Excellency Ana Paula Sacramento Neto, Honorable Minister of Youth and Sports, Your Excellency Dr. Yahya El-Wafiq Billah, Minister Plenipotentiary, representing Her Excellency the Minister of Trade and Industry of Egypt, Your Excellency Ambassador Nelson Manuel Cosme, Ambassador of the Republic of Angola in Egypt, Chairman, Chief Executive Officers of Egyptian and Angolan companies, captains of industry, pressmen, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to this Angola-Egypt Investment Roundtable, holding in this historic and in our beautiful city of Cairo. I would also like to convey the greetings of and warm wishes of President and Chairman of the Board of Directors of Appraxim Bank, Professor Benedict Orama, who unfortunately is unable to join us today due to conflicts in his schedules. Today's event, as you've heard, is an initiative of the African Export-Import Bank and the Angolan Embassy in Egypt. I'll also like to use this opportunity to extend our sincerest gratitude to our co-hosts, the Angolan Embassy, led by Your Excellency Ambassador Nelson Manuel Cosme, and all the esteemed officials of the embassy and the bank who worked to put this together. Let me start by a quote from a great Pan-African leader, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the first president of Ghana. He wrote, and I quote, "The economic weakness of the new African states has been inherited from the colonial background, which subordinated their development to the needs of the colonial powers. To reverse the position and bring Africa into the realm of high productive modern nations, it calls for gigantic self-help program." So we as Africans have taken up the call for this gigantic self-help program in the form of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. We made history as Africa in March 2018, when African leaders came together in Kigali, Rwanda, at the 10th Extraordinary Summit of the African Union and signed that agreement launching the AfCFTA. It is a flagship project of the Africa's Agenda 2063. We often hear it, Agenda 2063. Where will we be by 2063? The Africa we want. We also have heard that the AfCFTA will bring together 55 African countries with a combined population of 1.2 billion people and combined gross domestic product, GDP, exceeding 3.5 trillion. And will make us the largest free trade area created since the formation of the World Trade Organization. You have to think about that for a second and internalize the size of the market that we're talking about. Because sometimes we say it's the Africa we want. The Africa AfCFTA agreement provides new impetus and dynamism to the process of our economic integration and to structurally transform our economies away from primary products as was originally intended in that quote that I just mentioned. Estimates and simulations suggest that the AfCFTA could significantly expand industrial production and intra-African trade. Intra-African trade is expected to more than double within the first 10 years of implementation. According to estimates by UNECA, intra-African trade in industrial products will also increase by $60 billion annually if the AfCFTA implementation is accompanied by robust trade facilitation measures. What we're doing today is to facilitate trade, is to bridge the information gap, the lack of access to trade and market information, that Africans don't know what exists in their neighboring countries, don't know what the rules of trade are, what they produce and sell, is a colonial construct. And that's one of the things we're trying to break down, those barriers so that intra-African trade can grow. An integrated African market is most likely to see enhanced FDIs to the benefit of participating economies and could shift foreign direct investments from natural resources to industry and manufacturing, as investors seek to take advantage of increased market size. So, we recognize at the Appraxim Bank that intra-African trade plays, the role it will play in our developmental ambitions. And in anticipation of the AfCFTA, in 2017 at the bank, we created a new function and we called it the Intra-African Trade Division. It is, to our knowledge, the only one of its kind in the continent. But we don't also want it to remain the only one in kind. That's why that's why we continue to encourage financial institutions and those who are here represented we encourage them to give meaning and focus to intra-regional trade. In our view, the AfCFTA completes the development path for Appraxim Bank because it sets the stage for the bank to prove its relevance. That is why we have been aggressive in supporting intra-African trade, and we have been unrelenting in our support of the AfCFTA. Over the past 5 years in the bank, through this Intra-African Trade Division, The bank has disbursed $20 billion on a revolving basis in support of intra-African trade and investments. And we're committed to doubling this amount in the next 5 years to $40 billion. We have also onboarded almost 500 of the 600 regulated African banks into our Intra-African letter of credit scheme. And we are well on our way to granting an aggregate of $8 billion to banks in support of intra-African trade finance. The bank also rolled out an intra-African trade champions program, through which it supports large African corporates with specialty services to accelerate their trade and investment transactions across the continent. As we have already noted the importance of these institutions to economic integration. Again, over the past 5 years, we have supported more than almost 20 African intra-champs working in diversified economic sectors. Some of them are present here today to win and have access to finance, contracts, the contracts that they have won across Africa. So what am I trying to say? We have facilitated large African companies to win contracts, investment contracts, trade and investment contracts across Africa, and we have supported them with financing as well. I think that amounts, I was just looking at that statistic this morning, it was well over $10 billion of support we have given to intra-African trade champions to win contracts. And some of them who are here know that we continue to travel across our borders together to facilitate those transactions. Those intra-champs also we have offered them global facilities under which they access financing through different countries, different products, a quick way of supporting their growth ambitions across Africa. So whatever collaboration happens today, the business-to-business exchanges, we understand that there's a pivotal role that financing will play, and that Appraxim Bank will be there to support those exchanges. Appraxim Bank has also made tremendous investments in the conceptualization and development, as you all know, probably of the Pan-African payment and settlement system, which will help Africans to pay for cross-border trade in their national currencies. In fact, when large corporates are hoping to bid for contracts, our idea when this perhaps is rolled across continent is that you can actually bid for those contracts in the national currencies of the employer of the service. In January this year, in Ghana, under the auspices of His Excellency President Nana Akufo-Addo, he hosted the commercial launch of PAPS, this groundbreaking platform, which is a part of the bank's broader trade digital ecosystem we call the African Trade Gateway. It will save Africa more than $5 billion annually in payments transaction costs, and will play an increasingly significant role in accelerating the continent's transactions, underpinning the operationalization of the AfCFTA. It is for the success of the AfCFTA that Appraxim Bank is working relentlessly together with the African Union, Commission, and the AfCFTA Secretariat to put in place a $7 billion AfCFTA adjustment facility. In this regard, the Appraxim Bank board has already committed $1 billion as the bank's initial investment. That adjustment fund, if I may highlight, is also available. It's not just only available to the public sector, it's also available to private sector, businesses who want to retool, who want to expand, and who want to take advantage of the big markets. The bank also developed the Appraxim Bank African Collaborative Transit Guarantee Scheme, which will provide a single technology-enabled transit guarantee that will facilitate movement of goods throughout the continent in support of the AfCFTA. When fully operational, the scheme is expected to lead to a significant reduction in border delays, an annual savings of more than $300 million annually. We have started piloting the transit guarantee scheme in the Comesa region, and we plan to extend it throughout the whole continent. We have committed a $1 billion wallet to the Transit Guarantee Scheme. However, $200 million is dedicated to the COMESA. Just think about it. People always talk about the Cairo to Cape Town cliche corridor, Cairo to Cape Town. What then that means is that businesses transporting goods from Egypt, for instance, all the way to Cape Town can do so under one single transit bond, so long as the destination is in Cape Town or is in Egypt. You don't have to post bonds on every border, as is often the case today. So we also support investments in infrastructure development, especially in markets where there are challenges and huge infrastructure deficits. So we do so by using our risk-bearing instruments, and we launched a comprehensive guarantee program that is aimed at facilitating much needed investments into Africa. The Appraxim Bank Guarantee Program will help de-risk African transactions in order to make them more attractive to investors and financiers. So should you want to invest in one African country or the other, and you need investment guarantees that will protect your investments and your returns, Appraxim Bank can support you with investment guarantees. Again, one of the reasons why we're here, because we understand that the perception of risk may be high as well. Appraxim Bank will often give you payment assurances. We also recognize that one of the key issues or constraints to the expansion of investment, especially in infrastructure, is lack of bankable projects. So we therefore launched a project preparation facility to assist African governments, and corporates prepare bankable investment-ready projects that will crowd in private sector investments and financial institutions to bridge the infrastructure gap on the continent, and also drive the process of industrialization and diversification of our exports. And of course, the bank, working with African Union and AFCFTA, also launched the Intra-African Trade Fair in 2018 as an initiative to support the AFCFTA. It is not new to Egyptians here, Egyptian companies, because the first one, the inaugural versions, was held in Egypt in 2018. And 2 years ago, last year in November 2021, the second edition was held in Durban, South Africa. That second edition attracted 1,501 exhibitors from 69 countries and over 3,000 participants participating both physically and virtually. And I think the enormous success of that trade fair is evidenced by the fact that $42 billion worth of deals were closed. 42 billion. The third edition, IATF 2023, we hold in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, in November 2023. It is actually, so you can mark the dates, November 21st to 27th, 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, as among the largest economies in Africa, the AFCFTA holds phenomenal growth and export opportunities for both Egypt and Angola. Angola is one of the largest economies in Africa with a huge wealth of natural resources. It is also the 12th most populous country in Africa and the 7th largest by landmass. However, like many other countries in the continent, the reliance of export of raw materials, of raw commodities, oil specifically, and the reliance on external markets also exposes Angola to global volatility and commodity price shocks. It is in recognition of this that the Angolan government has prioritized economic diversification as part of its national development plan. Angola's wealth of resources beyond oil, its strategic location as a gateway to Southern and Central Africa, and for external trade with the Americas, it gives them a unique position to take advantage of AFCFTA and Intra-African trade. while intra-African trade remains low, Angola has the natural resources to become one of the leading agricultural economies in Africa, and actually a breadbasket for the region. Because of its diverse, fertile ecology, it is suited for a variety of crops and livestock. For instance, in the 1970s, Angola was the world's third largest coffee producer. So intra-African trade provides an opportunity for this industry and others to be revived as investments in infrastructure is accelerated and market access opportunities open up under the AfCFTA. Another interesting sector, particularly in the context of the ongoing crisis in Ukraine, is wheat. Angola in recent years has seen significant increases in local wheat production, and with only 10% of its arable land being farmed, targeted investments in mechanization, fertilizers, and storage could see Angola not only become self-sufficient, but also potentially emerge as a wheat exporter. And how Egypt could benefit from Angola's wheat. Was that the case? In addition, the rising middle class in Africa and rapid urbanization will expand demand of manufactured goods and spur demand for critical infrastructure, housing, agricultural products, processed food, fast-moving consumer goods, and a host of other light manufacturers. The liberalization of services creates opportunities in the financial, tourism, cultural, communications, and business services sectors. Opportunities that both Egypt and Angola can stand to take advantage of. Egypt's strong industrial base creates unique opportunities, not only for trade, but also for investment to tap into the Angolan market and take advantage of its strategic location as a gateway to Central and Southern Africa. Technology and skills in manufacturing, energy, food and agro-processing, textiles, engineering and construction, and hospitality are just some of the areas for mutually beneficial relations. Appraxim Bank is ready to support the trade and investment transactions that will be agreed on the margins of this roundtable. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, by embracing and facilitating business-centric gatherings of this nature, together, we are now giving our continent, Africa, a huge opportunity to overcome the vestiges of past designs and reverse engineer the pre-independence era strategy of keeping our economies fragmented and disjointed. Today, we are demonstrating our unyielding passion to accelerate and reformat the age-old pre-independence era strategy and to replace it with our own African-led development goals. Businesses are now embedded in our programs as we speak to support the African society to extract the integration dividends that economies in other global regions are reaping and enjoying. The Africa we want is a collective dream. And it is by our collective actions that that dream will become our destiny.
Bom dia, good morning, everyone, sisters and brothers. Creio que depois da minha irmã Canaio falar, já não preciso de dizer tanto, porque ela já falou de Angola, melhor do que o ministro de Relações Exteriores da República de Angola. Mas gostaria, a senhora Excelência Ana Paula Sacramento Neto, ministra da Juventude e Desportos da República de Angola, Excelência Yeya Eluatec, Ministério do Comércio, em representação do Ministro do Comércio, Excelência Embaixador Nelson Cosme, distinto Embaixador da República de Angola no Egito, Excelência Senhora Canaio, da Appraxim Bank, que acaba aqui de falar de questões tão importantes da Appraxim Bank como sobre a República de Angola, e que agradecemos, representando o meu irmão Benedito Orama, que é o chairman da Appraxim Bank. Excelências, distintos convidados, minhas senhoras, meus senhores, desejo-vos todos as boas-vindas, esperando que tenham aprovado o café de Angola antes de entrar nessa sala. É com uma honra para nós e privilégio, portanto, de tomar parte desta importante atividade, que é a Mesa Redonda de Investimento Angola-Egito, que acontece no momento em que nós estamos a realizar uma importante visita oficial na República Árabe do Egito. Gostaria de saudar a todos vós aqui presentes e, sobretudo, um agradecimento especial à Appraxim Bank pelo apoio dado e ao governo do Egito e ao povo do Egito pelo apoio, pela recepção tão calorosa e fraternal que nos foi brindada desde a nossa chegada. O evento de hoje está, portanto, em consonância com a visão do governo da República de Angola, liderado por Sua Excelência João Manuel Gonçalves Lourenço, presidente da República de Angola, que consiste em colocar a diplomacia econômica ao serviço do desenvolvimento do país, mas, sobretudo, como ponte entre os nossos diferentes povos, nesse caso, com o governo e o povo do Egito. Este evento de hoje, portanto, está também em consonância com a relação sólida que a República de Angola gostaria de construir com este país irmão, que é o Egito, um país que esteve sempre ao nosso lado, desde a nossa luta pela libertação, nossa luta para a independência, e depois da independência e até hoje. Mas gostaríamos que essa relação, como reafirmado ontem, na audiência com o Presidente da República, esta relação, portanto, conhecesse novos patamares. E este evento vai perfeitamente contribuir para o efeito. The participation of representatives from the banking, investment industry, and trade sectors in this very event, among others, at this Roundtable, is an unequivocal sign of the need to continue to promote business relations between our two countries, Angola and Egypt, whether in the public or private sector, transforming the excellent economic opportunities that our countries offer and stimulating not only our bilateral cooperation, but also contributing to solid-based, permanent strategic dialogue and partnership. Despite the numerous challenges due to the current international economic and financial context. We believe that it is essential, especially, to transform the notion of crisis into a notion of opportunities. This also presupposes greater interaction between the commercial associations of our two countries, with a particular emphasis on the main national and international financial institutions that should facilitate the concession of credit lines, to finance structuring projects, to boost commercial activities, as well as to boost the policies of the Angolan government which aim at reducing imports and increasing exports. It is therefore important to highlight the fundamental role played by the activity of national and foreign entrepreneurs, as well as the related agencies and associations in their interaction with the political authorities, especially at a moment when diversification of the national economy of Angola is at stake. Ladies and gentlemen, despite the various well-identified challenges Africa may currently face, especially in the context of the coronavirus pandemic, our continent has been showing to the world some of the most resilient communities, as well as leaders who are truly committed to reduce the gap between our developing world and industrialized countries. We therefore understand that South-South partnership is one of the main tools we can use and which we intend to build with Egypt. It also offers a good opportunity and suitable conditions, for our continent on the road to prosperity by working together on the improvement of infrastructures and the construction of a solid basis for manufacturing and other industries. Angola has recently implemented new policies to facilitate the business environment and make our country more attractive to foreign investment. Internally, the country has taken significant steps in the fight against corruption, undertaken the comprehensive administrative reform, and to eliminate bureaucracy, worked on the improvement in the granting of visas, including the increase in visa facilitation agreement, operates the reform of justice and law, as well as completed the elimination of monopolies, to name but a few of the reforms we are undertaking in Angola. At the international level, our country has also carried out a very intense diplomatic activity aimed at attracting foreign direct investment in financing, as well as judicial cooperation within the scope of asset recovery processes. Against this background, we like to invite the Egyptian business people to look at us not only as a potential target, but as a growing market sustainable and with good economic performance to the advantage of in the path of our common goal to build a stronger Africa. Also, we'd like to invite the Egyptian community to look at Angola as a door for regional markets. I mean, the Central African market, as well as the Southern African market. As you know, Angola is at the same time member of the Southern African Development Community, SADC, and we are also members of the Economic Community of Central Africa. Just to give you an example, if you look at the Central African Community market, you have 300 million of consumers. So entering by Angola, you can reach the market of Central Africa, as well as you can reach the market of the Southern region. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, I wish to reiterate the pleasure to be here and to witness the holding of this important exercise, both considering that contribute to the consolidation of bilateral relations with Egypt, as well as a partner of great importance to Angola, and taking into account that all fellow Angolan participants will certainly use this space to convey the message of the new Angola. We have more than 50 representatives of the public and private sectors coming from Angola. So I wish the interaction in a model of B2B will be very productive as well. As an African country with hope characterized by continuous effort of its government led by His Excellency President João Manuel Gonçalves Lourenço, aimed at improving the business environment and the credibility of the country, eliminating the barriers that for a long time kept potential foreign investors away. We are presenting to you today the new Angola, an open Angola, open to investment, open to its brothers and sisters from Egypt and from the entire world. With those words, I would like to declare open this very important roundtable. Muito obrigado.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, and we're all looking forward to more strong ties between Angola and Egypt. I'd like now to invite His Excellency Minister Plenipotentiary Dr. Yahya Al-Wathiq Billah, First Undersecretary, Head of Egyptian Commercial Service, Vice Minister of Trade and Industry, on behalf of Her Excellency Minister of Trade and Industry, Mrs. نيفين الجامع. أحب أن أدعو الآن لكلمة السفير يحيى الواثق بالله.
Good morning, everyone. His Excellency Teti Antonio, Minister of External Relations of the Republic of Angola, Her Excellency Ana Paula Neto, Minister of Youth and Sports, Her Excellency Kanayo Awani, Managing Director, Africa Exim Bank, His Excellency Nelson Manuel, Ambassador of Angola to Egypt, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. First, I would like to extend my deep appreciation to the African Export-Import Bank on the well preparation of this event. It's a pleasure being with you today. And to deliver these words on behalf of Her Excellency Nivin Gama, Minister of Trade and Industry, to demonstrate our genuine interests and commitment to boost business ties and cooperation between Egypt and Angola. Today's roundtable, besides being an important chance for companies and institutions to meet and foster business and commercial links, seeks in boosting ways of cooperation and investment among Egypt and Angola, as well as promoting joint interests between members of business communities in both sides. Relations between Egypt and Angola have been always warm and friendly. This is due to the fact that we have constantly endeavored to establish contacts and to work together bilaterally as well as multilaterally. Nevertheless, the current bilateral trade structure and figures between our two countries still remained below expectations. It neither represents the real capabilities nor potentials of our two great nations. Our total bilateral trades was only valued at USD $20 million in 2021, with exports from Egypt standing at USD 19.3 million. On investment level, Egypt is looking forward to strengthening its presence in the Angolan market. Angola represents a large market with a population of 33.6 million and a GDP exceeding USD 58.4 billion US dollars, which is considered the 8th largest economy in sub-Saharan Africa. So it's a logical next market for Egyptian companies active in other countries in the African region. According to the last updated data provided by Angola Private Investment and Export Promotion Agency, only 2 Egyptian projects were established in the Angolan market to increase the total stock of joint ventures to USD 2.7 million. But yet, bilateral investment flows between Egypt and Angola remain small relative to the size of our economies and the potentials to take advantage of the available opportunities. It is also worth emphasizing that we strongly support the initiatives of increasing the number of Egyptian investment projects in Angola. And I would like to mention that His Excellency Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, President of Egypt, has given special instructions to strengthen the presence of the Egyptian companies in all African markets, including Angola, through trades and investment. In addition, providing building capacity programs to help African countries to enhance their abilities in all necessary fields. We also can see many fields of cooperation between our states, in particular in the sectors of food and agro business, mining, energy, livestock production, construction, and chemical products. We in Egypt believe in the importance of promoting the trades and investment relations with Angola to more ambitious levels. The visit of the Honorable Minister is indeed timely and opportune. And I'm sure that the discussion that we will have today will provide us with the opportunity to take stock of the future and enhance our bilateral relations. Ladies and gentlemen, Egypt is committed to Africa and pledges to boost investment and cooperation with the African countries by strengthening regional ties and strengthening economic integration across the continent. It is worth mentioning that there are no doubts that the regional investment movement plays a crucial role in African regional economic integration. And organizing such an important roundtable will help our two states sharing their experiences in encouraging national and regional investment. It will also offer a platform to introduce practical solutions for the private sector to encourage investments movement between Egypt and Angola. In this regard, I suggest that the African Export-Import Bank organize more workshops and roundtables in fields of investment marketing to help African countries to develop their investment opportunities maps to facilitate the attraction of foreign direct investment in the region. And I would like to conclude with a message. We are calling on investors and the private sector from both countries to increase bilateral investments and trade. We encourage businessmen from both countries to cooperate in projects, creating a win-win situation and adding value to the economies of both countries. Please utilize of this important opportunity. Please get all the benefits and support from the two governments and all the institutions, whether government or private institutions. Please get all the benefit from the Africa Exim Bank. Please sit together, work together, chat together, integrate together. You will get a win-win situation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. يحيى الوثق بالله. طبعا المفوض التجاري يحيى الوثق بالله رئيس جهاز التمثيل التجاري. And I'd like to add to what you said, we'll be having lots of time to chat together and talk together during the lunch break for starters, and then we'll resume with the real talks afterwards. Let me now introduce the presentation by Angola Private Investment and Export Promotion Agency. I'm sure there will be lots of information there to help our business sectors represented today. Please join us. We'll be having the presentation by Mr. Herbert Ferreira, please.
Good morning, Mr. Minister of External Affairs of Angola, His Excellency Tata Antonio, His Excellency Ana Paula Sacramento, Honorable Minister of Youth and Sports, His Excellency Mr. Yewa Helhuatek, I hope I said your name right, and Mrs. Canayo, Managing Director of Appraxim Bank. Welcome to you all. I'm gonna share some information about IPEX, what we do, and our core business and some investment opportunities. So we're gonna go through this, but basically most that I'm gonna say right now was told already by our Honorable Minister and Mrs. Hawa Kanawi, so I will not take long in order to gain time for our B2Bs. So Angola, he's now the pillars of economic transformation. We have a legal framework right now and two economic programs, which are the ProPriv, which is the program for privatization that some Angolan companies are being privatized by the Angolan executive, and the Prodesi, which is the program that comes to replace the substitution of imports and to diversify the exports. The main objective of these pillars of economic transformation are to strengthen the private sector lead to growth model that is based on economic diversification and industrialization. So with the strengthening institutions and improving market conditions, the investment law is setting now in competitive conditions for investment. Now in Angola, back in the days in Angola, we had the previous law said that to invest in Angola, the foreign investors need to have um, local partners. This is no longer a requirement. In order to invest in Angola right now, there is no obligation of department. And I would like to emphasize that there is no minimum amount to investment in Angola. We have simplified the entrance in Angola with more than 61 countries, and all the applications for work and tourism visas are made online on the websites of the SME or the IPEX. Of course, these strengthenings of the institutions are improving the market conditions with digital transformation and promoting the e-governments. It's just, in order to tackle bureaucracy and streamline process of management. So this is now we're gonna see the role of IPEX. So this is what IPEX does. We improve the business environment, promote competition. By the end of my presentation, everybody that is interested, we're gonna share the presentation. So I'm not gonna go over it. So the core business of IPEX is register and monitor the implementation of private investment proposals, coordinates institutional support for investors, and so on. So these are some of the investors' rights. And here I would like to emphasize that the investor, back in the days, this is important to say that back in the days, we were facing some problems regarding to the expatriation of the profits. But for right now, this is no longer a problem. Angola is, the executive of Angola is not dealing anymore with these issues. So the investor will transfer every dividends resulting from the profits of his business. So there is some jurisdictional guarantees in event of a dispute. The investor can access Angolan courts and use alternative means in relation to the private investment. So in Angola now we have 3 investment regimes. Back in the days we had only 2. So the contractual regime is the new one. So I'm gonna go for the 3 of them. So the pre-declaration regimes is the regime that is where the investment proposals are not in the priority sectors defined by the government, but also in this regime, the investor will have tax incentives and benefits which are be granted automatically. In the special regime, we have the regime that is defined by priority sectors. These incentives and benefits, of course, are granted automatic, but they vary according to the zone of the country. We will see in a bit, because we have divided Angola in 4 different zones, A, B, C, and D. That's why we say here that the incentives and benefits are varying related to the development zone. So the contractual regime is a regime that allows the investors the negotiations with the Angolan executive. These investments, in order to have these negotiations with the Angolan government, the investors must invest more than $10 million. So what in this regime, the investors can sit and say, for instance, if you go to implement a factory with more than $10 million, you're going to sit with the government and decide which benefits you can benefit from the investment. So these are the priority sectors that benefits from fiscal reductions defined by the Angolan government. Here we can see tourism, hospitality, which Egypt is a really, really strong country. We have agriculture, as mentioned by His Excellency Mr. Yawa El-Tawek. He told us about agriculture, agro-industry, and food. This is also a priority sector that benefits from fiscal reduction and is defined by the Angolan government as a priority sector. So these are the zones that I mentioned before, the zone A, B, C, and D. The thing is that the more the investor invests within the interior of the country, the more benefits he have. For instance, in zone A, which is Luanda, the investor can benefit at least for 2 years of fiscal benefits and tax reductions. But if he goes, for instance, to zone D, which is in the province of Cabinda. It can go up to 8 years of fiscal reductions and exemptions. So as mentioned also here by Mrs. Anawa, our minister, and His Excellency Dr. Hia Awet, Angola as a privileged geographic location for travel and trade, and this the investment corridors and trade corridors were also mentioned. As I said before, I will not take long being repetitive because all of this was said already here. So these are some opportunities by sector. We have agriculture and fisheries. These are some of the opportunities like productions of improved seeds, meat productions and processing. We have here about the cereals, the wheat that we can also export, was mentioned by Mrs. Anaya Kanao. So in transportations and logistics, we have these opportunities, constructions of and operation of logistic platforms, construction operations of tolls at borders and corridors. So these are some of the opportunities that are in Angola right now. As I said before, I will not, going through all of them in order to gain time for the B2Bs for further discussions. So these are some of the companies that have chosen Angola that now have a strong presence in Angola. So as mentioned before, the geostrategic location of Angola, Angola can work as a hub. And you as an investor, if you go to Angola, you cannot think only the investment in Angola, which was mentioned here, that with a population of only with the 33 million people. Now you can see Angola has a hub to the southern region. And this region, we have more than 300 million people. So for instance, if you implement a factory and you start exporting your products, you will have a market in the using Angola as a hub of 300 million consumers. So there are some benefits from ongoing reforms. Angola is open and increasingly better prepared for the entry of structural investment to accelerate economic growth that trickles into all sectors. So thanks. As I said, if we have further questions, I have my administrator here. We are here to answer some questions by the end of the program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Herbert Ferreira, for the presentation. And as you can see, lots and lots of opportunities in Angola for Egyptian investors. And I'm sure the same opportunities are available for the investors from the Angolan side. Now it's time for our group photo. Let me invite our high-ranking guests who are joining us today for a group photo, and then we will be having a short coffee break, and then we resume afterwards. I'd like to welcome on stage His Excellency Tete Antonio, Honorable Minister of External Affairs, the Republic of Angola. Her Excellency Ana Paula Sacramento Neto, Honorable Minister of Youth and Sports, Angola. His Excellency Ambassador Nelson Cosme, the Angolan Ambassador to Egypt. Minister Plenipotentiary Dr. Yahya Al-Wathiq Billah, Head of Egyptian Commercial Service. Her Excellency Ambassador Mona Omar. Her Excellency Mrs. Kanayo Awani, Managing Director of Intra-African Trade Initiative, and Dr. Ayman Al-Zughbi, Head of Trade and Corporate Finance, Intra-African Banking. And we'd like to be joined also by our last speaker, Mr. Herbert Ferreira, to join us in this group photo. الآن صورة تذكارية للمتحدثين اليوم، وطبعا ضيوفنا الذين شرفونا بالحضور. وهيكون في استراحة قصيرة لتناول القهوة تقريبا 10 دقائق لربع ساعة، وبعد ذلك سنمضي في الجلسة التالية. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back at exactly 10:30 to resume the presentation. Next will be the National Agency for Oil and Gas presentation from Angola. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, we'll be starting again in a few moments if you would kindly join us in the main hall. السيدات والسادة الحضور الكريم، سنواصل جلساتنا بعد لحظات قليلة. نتمنى أن تنضموا إلينا في القاعة الرئيسية. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed the coffee break. We'll be resuming shortly. I kindly ask you to join us in the main hall. Thank you very much.
trade, and with it, the lives of millions of
السيدات والسادة، سنبدأ بعد لحظات قليلة. أرجو منكم الحضور إلى القاعة الرئيسية. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly take your seats. We'll be getting ready for the next presentation. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, we'll be now watching a corporate video for Appraxim Bank. Meanwhile, we'll be getting ready for our next presentation by the National Agency for Oil and Gas. السيدات والسادة، الآن سنتابع معكم هذا الفيلم التسجيلي القصير والذي يوضح طبيعة عمل أفراكسم بانك في السنوات الماضية. نتابعه وبعد ذلك سنبدأ في عرضنا مباشرة.
In 1993, Appraxim Bank was founded with an ambitious mandate to transform Africa's trade and with it the lives of millions of people. It set about In 1993, Appraxim Bank was founded with an ambitious mandate to transform Africa's trade and with it the lives of millions of people. It set about its all-important work, creating era-defining projects, mobilizing public and private sectors and innovating at every turn to make Africa better, stronger and more competitive on the international stage. Then, in late 2015, our current president took up the mantle, determined to build on the foundation laid by his predecessors to accelerate intra-African trade, power industrialization coast to coast, provide leadership in African trade finance, and deliver a financially sound and high-performing bank, and ultimately transform Africa's economies. He and his management team responded to the continent's needs, found resolutions through skill, partnership, and diplomacy, and stood by African nations in good times and bad. And the consequence, the number of participating nations went from 37 to 51. Appraxim Bank proved itself worthy of Africa's trust by supporting many African economies during the global commodity crisis of 2015 and 2016 and helping African countries deal with the impact of COVID-19 pandemic through its Pandemic Trade Impact Mitigation Facility and other COVID-19 interventions to meet the urgent need for food and medical supplies. Working in collaboration with the Africa CDC, AU Special Envoys and other partners, Appraxim Bank has put in place a facility of $2 billion to support African countries in the procurement of vaccines. Appraxim Bank became Africa's critical partner in bringing to life the historic African Continental Free Trade Agreement. We founded the biennial Intra-Africa Trade Fair to make the unified continental market a reality, the African Trade Gateway, a digital ecosystem to leapfrog obstacles to intra-African trade, and the Intra-African Trade Champions Initiative to help African corporates win and execute deals worth over $5 billion to lead Africa's transformation. In this same period, we expanded access to trade-related infrastructure, increased support for small and medium-sized enterprises, and in just the last 2 years, the bank has financed new manufacturing capacities worth over $1 billion. Appraxim Bank is also helping to transform Africa's industrial landscape by financing the development of industrial parks, special economic zones, and the creation of manufacturing capacities, creating an enabling environment for the smooth conduct of intra-Africa trade through the development of Africa Quality Assurance Centers in various regions, and leading the initiative to promote medical tourism within Africa by championing the construction of the Africa Medical Center of Excellence, which would directly impact approximately $20 billion annually in external payments for medical services. Appraxim Bank today leads the way as Africa's foremost trade finance institution. As at December 2020, we have onboarded 448 African banks, with 128 of them already participating in AFTRAF, Appraxim Bank's trade facilitation program. Appraxim Bank's trade finance related disbursements in 2020 hit $10.9 billion, narrowing Africa's trade finance gap by 13%. The lives of Africa's 1.2 billion people are being transformed steadily every day in so many ways, creating millions of jobs through our financing programs and investments in industrial infrastructure such as the Gabon Special Economic Zone Mineral Port, increasing port volumes from 1.7 metric tons to over 5.4 metric tons, improving medical care in Liberia thanks to Appraxim Bank's ultra-modern medical facility, and bringing hope to isolated communities communities in South Sudan through improved access to clean energy. Through these and many more projects and in pursuit of our continental mission, we did not compromise on financial performance and soundness. From 2015 to 2020, our net income almost tripled from $125 million to $351 million. Total assets and guarantees rose from $7.6 billion to $20.4 billion. The aggregate dividends declared to shareholders was $360 million US. And for the first time in 2019 and again in 2020, the bank's revenues exceeded $1 billion US. Whatever the future holds, Appraxim Bank will be ready to rise to the challenge, inspired by its mandate and its renewed commitment from African governments, determined to succeed, resolute in our commitment to foster an integrated continent with a strong industrial base serving the world's largest contiguous single market. The journey continues. To discover more, join us on our journey. Visit us at
to resume our roundtable today. Let me introduce Mr. Ermen Gildo Talapaxi for the presentation by the National Agency for Oil and Gas. Mr. Talapaxi is the Director of Negotiations of the National Agency of Oil and Gas and Biofuels in Angola.
Salam alaikum. Good morning, His Excellency Mr. Teti Antonio, Minister of External Affairs of Angola, His Excellency Mrs. Ana Paula Sacramento, the Minister of Health and Sport of Angola, His Excellency Mr. Deya Work, the Vice Minister of Trade and of Industry of Egypt. Also, His Excellency Mr. Nelson Cosme, the Angola Ambassador in Egypt. And also, good morning to Mrs. Kayono Awani, our host from Appraxim Bank. My name is Hermenegildo Guila, and it's an honor to be here today in this Africa, Angola and Egypt Investment Roundtable to talk about the Angola oil sector. Going to the agenda, 4 main topics: the frame, the opportunities in Angola, which is the main reasons we are here, the contractor framework that we use in Angola in the oil sector, as well the reasons why and how you can invest in Angola. Angola is a very known country in terms of oil industry. It's currently the 3rd largest oil producer in Africa. Angola is also among the 20 largest oil producers in the world. Angola currently, according to a study, holds the 5th most attractive country in the world in terms of exploration and production attractiveness. Angola also has a very high level rate of success on their discoveries. Our contractual, socioeconomics, fiscal, and political stability have been, through all those years, the main reason why Angola has all of the major oil companies still working and investing in Angola. So, as you can see in this graph, the production of Angola starts in early 1960s. And then we reach our peak of production in 2009, when we reached 1.9 million barrels per day. But since then, the Angolan production started in a very steep It's a very steep declining. Now, the Angolan government, looking at these conditions, couldn't stop and start looking for ways to change this curve because the Angolan production has been declining since 2009, and we need to do something. That's why in 2019, the Angolan government decided to change the sector, the organization of the Angolan oil sector. Now we have our president, the head of the Angola oil sector. So all the decisions pass through the Angolan president. So because Angola is very, very committed to this sector and is represented by the government of Angola, by the Mr. João Lourenço, our president. So the new structure actually brought two new entities, and I'll be talking about the ANPG, which is the Angolan National Agency for Petroleum, Gas, and Biofuels, that look for the concessionaries, the regulation, as well as the fiscal for all the upstream activities. In the side by ANPG, we have an institute that regulates all the downstream activities for the Angolan sector. After that, we have the players, the companies that plays on the downstream and upstream sector that reports to those two agencies. With this new structure, the ANPG came with a mission, and the main mission of ANPG is to maximize the value of the state through the very sophisticated and very decent management of the resources from the oil and gas revenues. And we have also a vision. Our vision is to become an international reference by promoting Angola as a business environment place and also keeping Angola as a choice of an investment. We also have values, but we could look at the values of the NPG. By the way, after my presentation, I will leave this presentation to all the interest people that I wanted to have it. But now, I'm going to talk about few benefits of this structure of the new Angolan sector. The main benefit of this restructuring is the transparency. With this new government structure, the Angolan oil sector become very more transparent. We also eliminate the conflict of interest because we used to have the players and the referee doing the same thing. So with this new structure, we eliminate that. We keep focus on improving the returns from the investments. We also looking to secure the returns for the government. We look at maintaining our social and contractual framework. We're empowering Angolan jobs, empowering Angolan companies, so focus as well on local content. But of course, we are open to receive new partners to come and invest in Angola. Now, talking about opportunities, the opportunities that I'm going to be talking, they are all created to help us changing that decline curve that I showed a minute ago. And in order for us to do that, the first thing that this new structure and this government did was in 2019, we approved for the very first time a general strategy for awarding concessions. With this strategy, the Angolan government wants to award more than 50 new concessions through the period of 2019 until 2025. We also restructure a lot of laws to increase the benefits and incentives to the investors. And we also have an exploration strategy also from 2019 to 2025, because Angola, more than 60% of the Angolan country, the Angolan area, is unknown in terms of oil potentials, because our production currently is from offshore blocks, and we have the interior basins of Angola that needs to be studied, and also needs to be, we need investors to help us in that. So, as you can see in this slide, this is the base of Angolan production right now, the forecast of the production of Angola. We're trying to keep above 1.2 million barrels per day. And you may ask me, why are you showing this graph? Because this is coming from the existing blocks, the existing production. So those production belong already to companies that are producing in Angola. You don't have a chance to contribute. No, that's not true. This production actually comes from the existing blocks, yes, but from the major blocks that owned by the major companies. We still have a lot of small fields, marginal fields, that small and mid-sized companies can also take a chance and help us increasing this production forecast for the next few years. So there's a lot of opportunities that you can help Angola increasing this production. Now, I talk about the general strategy. You can see now in this map, we have from 2019 to 2025. This is the general strategy of awarding concessions. Here we have the list of all the blocks that we have available for licensing round and award to any company that is interested to participate in Angola industry. Just for let you guys know, in 2000, you see here the blocks in 2021, those blocks actually, due to COVID, the schedule was a little bit moved, and the bids for those blocks are going to be open next week on the 5th of April. So we are doing the licensing round strategy. In 2023, we're gonna have this list of blocks. In 2025, we also have this list of blocks. So our general strategy currently have already awarded 21 concessions, new concessions, from the 50 that we have available. 12 were awarded through the licensing rounds that we did in 2019 and 2020. And 9 were awarded through direct negotiations. But this is not the only blocks available for investors on the general strategy. Last year, the government approved what we call a permanent offer. In this slide, you see this list of blocks. They are available for direct negotiation at any time. If you want to pick one of those blocks today, you can start the negotiations with ANPG. You don't need to wait for the schedule of the general strategy to start investing on these blocks. And as you can see, there is a lot of information produced for these blocks, a lot of 3D seismic, 2D seismic wells. So it's those are blocks with a lot of information. So the risk, most of the risk is already eliminated. So please look at those numbers, look at those blocks, and choose one of them to come and invest in Angola. Besides that, I brought this map. We'll look first on the table. What this table shows are the published reserves of Angola. We currently have published 3.5 billion barrels of oil as a reserves, declared reserves. We have 5.6 billion barrels of contingent resources and also 2.1 TCFs of gas. But those are only the numbers that we published. The potential of Angola is triple or probably 4 times more than those numbers that we are presenting here. And if you look at the side, the map, on the cost, we have the blocks on the offshore production where 80% of the Angolan production comes from right now, or 90%, let's say. But on the map, on the onshore, the green areas, we call them interior basins. Due to our exploration strategy, those green areas represent 40% of the entire Angolan area. And those green areas needs to be evaluated, and Angola is looking for the investors to help us evaluate the potential on the onshore basins. Remember that especially on the Otosha Okavango Basin, in our Namibia neighbor, and also in Zambia, they already have discovered. So those are not frontier basins. Those are basins that have been proven the existence of oil. So it's a very big opportunity for companies to come to Angola and help us evaluating the potential on our interior basins. Now, to come to Angola and invest in our sector, it's important for us to let you know what type of contracts you find in Angola, because you need to be binded by contracts. We have two main types of contracts. The first one, where 90% of the concessions in Angola use, is the well-known production sharing agreement contract. Very simple contract with the very small taxes. The main tax applied to that is the income tax, which is 50% for international companies and 35% for local companies. The contract, as it says, is named production sharing. We split the production from profit oil and cost oil. With this contract, all the investments are guaranteed to be recovered. Exploration, development plus incentives or uplift, and also your operation activities. And these contracts this split is done by the internal rate of return, as you can see here on the table. But besides the production sharing agreement, we also have a royalty type contract, which is the risk service agreement contract, where we have more taxes than the production sharing agreement, but we also give incentives to allow the investor to have the sufficient return in this risk service contract. Now, the contracts itself sometimes don't work on the standard conditions, because the number of reserves discovered, the volumes are not sufficient enough to give the return for the investors. The Angolan government didn't stop with that. We are always looking for new incentives for companies. That's why in 2018, we approved, for example, the presidential decree, and you'll see presidential decrees because as you know, the Angolan president is the main figure in the Angolan sector. So he's very well committed to this sector. So the president of Angola in 2018 approved the decree 518 that allows companies to continue to do exploration inside of the existing development areas to increase their potential. Also approved the marginal field terms for those blocks that don't work using the main type of contracts. We have a new set of terms, fiscal terms for marginal fields, so you can improve your returns, as well as the gas law. We approved the gas law. In the past, Angola, when you would find gas, we would consider gas as a government asset. Non-investor could have access to that gas. Now, with the new Angolan law, you can monetize the gas. You can explore, develop, and sell the gas as a price that you may find customers. So you can also improve your revenues by adding the gas to your oil stream. So those are few new laws that the Angolan government recently approved to give more incentives to companies to invest in our sector. Now, why should you come to Angola, and how can you invest in Angola. Um, Besides those laws that I just mentioned, that the Angolan is always seeking for new incentives for the investors, we are currently doing a competitive study with an international company that will help us identify in each country in the world what are they doing to find investors, because we are doing our best. We are changing laws, we're giving incentives, but other countries are doing also things that are capturing investors. So we wanted to know what countries are doing differently than we are doing, so we can also improve our incentives for more investments. So we are currently doing this competitive study. We're also looking for new reforms to facilitate the coming of investors. As my colleagues from IPEX mentioned, for example, you now don't need to have a local partner to come and to invest in Angola. You don't have a minimum to invest in Angola, even though we advised to partner with Angola because it's good to have a local partner to help you through the various processes in Angola. And also, we are also focused on the energy transaction. We couldn't be ignoring these events. The energy transaction will take the future of our industry, and we are also taking actions currently to be ready for the transaction of the energy in this sector. So those measures we consider them sufficient for us to continue to seek for more and more incentives to give for the investors in Angola. Now, and we are continuing looking more incentives to invest in Angola. Now, investing in Angola for exploration and production companies, you have the general strategy of Angola, where we have more than 50 new concessions to be awarded. We show the list of the blocks and the times when those blocks are ready to come for the licensing rounds. But we also showed the permanent offer blocks that you can initiate the negotiations at any time, even today, if you want to initiate these negotiations. And we said we have sufficient data available so you can access those data. And we also technology friends, because we have a virtual data showroom. You can access to our base through your office here or anywhere in the world. If you like the block, you can also acquire the data through without going to Angola, so to be ready for the licensing rounds. But there is a particular aspect here that is very important, especially that Angola now launched the onshore activity. The onshore requires a very complex investment, and we don't have right now in Angola infrastructures to put and collect the production that is going to come from the onshore blocks. If you look at this map, there are a possibility, and we're looking for investments to build a production terminal where the onshore blocks can put their production. So companies that don't invest in exploration and production can also invest on the infrastructure and logistics and transportation for the oil that's going to come from the onshore blocks. We also mentioned the potential on the interior basins that needs to be studied. So companies that are looking for exploration can come and help us evaluating the potential of those basins, and then also pick the size. We'll leave you to pick the size of the concession of the area that you want to explore. So it's open for everybody. So when is the time? The time, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, the time is now. We have no more time to wait on the oil sector in Angola, in the world. The energy transactions is at the door, and we don't want to hand our history with a lot of hydrocarbons in the ground. So come to Angola, the time is now for you guys to invest. And we, Angola, believe that in this existing, challenging, and very dynamic sector, the Angolan government will continue guarantee a contractual stability, a social economic stability, and also keeping Angola as a country of a choice for investment. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Angola.
Well, that was a very good invitation for investments in Angola. I really appreciate that Mr. Ermengildo Telepaxi, Director of Negotiations of the National Agency of Oil, Gas and Biofuels in Angola. Now, what are the products and programs offered by Appraxim Bank, and how do they facilitate trade? Those questions and more will be addressed by Mr. Ayman Zoghbi, Head of Trade and Corporate Finance, Intra-African Banking, Appraxim Bank.
All right. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Your Excellency, the Minister of External Affairs of Angola, Your Excellency, Minister of Youth and Sports of Angola, His Excellency, the Deputy Minister of Trade of Egypt, Madame Kanaya Awani, our Managing Director for Intra-African Trade Initiative, our good friend, His Excellency, the Ambassador of Angola in Egypt, Ambassador Mon Amr, distinguished ladies and gentlemen present here. Let me first start by welcoming you all and thank you all for being here with us and being present today in this very important event. I was really privileged and honored to have participated in one of the mega projects in Angola, which was not only an important project for the country, but it also was a great cooperation between Egypt and Angola. It was a gas-fired power project for $500 million, which we financed at Appraxim Bank and which was executed by an Egyptian company called El Swedi Electric. We've done this transaction in the mid of the financial crisis and the oil prices crunch in Angola and the world. And we were there to participate and intervene to support this very important project and this mega collaboration between Egypt and Angola. So this is just an example of what the Appraxim Bank is doing and what the Appraxim Bank is willing to do to support the kinds of collaboration and regional integration among the African countries. We're gathered here, we've listened to presentations this morning about opportunities in Angola, and I'm really happy that we have really been able to bring today a number of Egyptian companies who are specialized in those various fields, in oil and gas, textiles, transportation, healthcare, technology, and many other fields that are of interest to our friends from the Angolan side. And through my presentation today, I will demonstrate to you that not only are we able to bring together those kinds of companies and interested partners in one place, but also we have the right financing tools, financing instruments, and the right facilitation tools to support those kinds of interventions. Appraxim Bank is doing so many things, and there are so many things to talk about that we do, but mindful of the time, I will try to be very brief and go quickly through the presentation just to give you an idea about the financing programs that we have and the facilitation initiatives that we bring to the continent to support regional integration in the continent. So I understand that many of you know Appraxim Bank quite well, but for those who do not know who Appraxim Bank is a multilateral development finance institution. We're called the African Export-Import Bank. We're based in Cairo, Egypt, And we have regional branches covering regions across Africa, East Africa, South Africa, West Africa Francophone, West Africa Anglophone, Central Africa, and soon we'll have a branch to cover the Northern African region. Currently, we have 51 African countries as member countries of the bank. We're only missing Libya, Algeria, and Somalia. But soon this year, inshallah, we will cover the 3 countries and we'll have the full continent as member countries of the Appraxim Bank. The bank was established in 1994 to support intra and extra African trade and to really bring in value to the continent in times of crisis, in times of needs, when international banks withdraw from financing trade. So we're a trade finance bank in essence, but throughout the years, our DNA has evolved, and we're now have a full commercial platform of commercial banking services and beyond. Our headquarters is in Cairo, Egypt, and we have regional branches. This is the top 20 shareholders. The largest shareholder is the Central Bank of Egypt, and we're here in Egypt, based in Cairo. The strategy of the bank is, the main pillars of the strategy of the bank are hinged around three main big elements. Number one, which is the arrowhead strategy of the bank, and which is really why we're here today, is intra-African trade. The bank has taken it upon itself to promote and support intra-African trade and regional integration in the continent. Everybody knows that regional integration and intra-African trade in Africa is very low, intra-region, compared to other continents. So we have taken it really upon ourselves to do this mission of bringing Africans together and support intra-African trade and intra-African investments. And many of our clients who are present here today will testify that this is a very difficult mission, but they also will testify that we are determined to support this mission and complete this mission. The other important element of our strategy is industrialization and export development. We're trying to create processing capacity into the continent in order to export manufactured products rather than raw materials. And trade finance leadership. Of course, being a trade finance bank, we try to present ourselves as the trade finance bank for Africa. So we try as much as we can support trade business in Africa, support African banks, commercial banks to be able to do more, and mediate between African banks and African countries in doing regional business. Financing instruments. I will focus my presentation first on the financing instruments that we have to support intra-African trade and intra-African investment, since we're here today trying to do intra-African business. And the bank really has been very innovative in developing new financing programs and products that speaks to the challenges facing intra-African trade and the opportunities present to try and ride on those opportunities and add more value. Going quickly through some of those facilities, our managing director spoke this morning about the Intra-African Trade Champions program that we have, and that we have something called the Global Facility, which is an umbrella facility with multiple purposes that is available to those intra-African trade champions for multiple purposes in multiple jurisdictions simultaneously, so that we help them do more. And some of our clients present here today have benefited from some of those facilities, and we're able to capture more business across the continent. As we understand that intra-African trade is low, intra-African investment is even lower. That's why we developed what we call an intra-African investment finance and guarantee facility, which helps African companies or financial institutions to grow their footprint across Africa, either by acquiring other businesses in other African countries or by providing equity investments to do more investments in other African countries. We work a lot through commercial banks, and we are a wholesale bank. We cannot reach to every customer on the continent. So we do have lines of credit that work through commercial banks. So we have intra-African trade services support facility and export financing facilities, which we provide to commercial banks to confirm LCs, discount LCs, provide documentary recollection for business, for intra-African trade business to happen. We also understand the pivotal role that export trading companies play in promoting intra-African trade. Many businesses in Africa not export on their own unless they deal with an export trading company specialized that knows the logistics and the know-how on export. And that's why we developed the packing credit facility, which is also a facility that provides support, financing support to export trading companies across the whole value chain, from the point of acquiring goods from various producers, having them packed, ready to be shipped, shipping, and then ultimately to the point of collection of receivables. We also have our managing director talked about our African Guarantee Program, AFGAP. We have a very robust guarantee program to be able to provide guarantees to de-risk opportunities on the continent. From the perspective of intra-African trade, we have some of those guarantees that are very crucial to intra-African business. We have what we call export contract availability guarantee. Many exporters and many producers cannot sustain their business unless they have long-term export contracts from their buyers. And for those buyers to be able to give long-term export contracts, they need to be assured about the performance and the deliverability of the producers. And that's why we provide the guarantee, export contract availability guarantee. We try to guarantee the performance and delivery terms of the African producers before their buyers to be able to give them long-term export contracts. Another one, guarantee in support of government commitments to project promoters. We try to promote PPP projects across the continent. We find that many African businesses are shy away from PPP arrangement because it's a very long-term arrangement, and they might not be willing to take the African government risks to honor their obligations under those terms of the PPP agreements. And that's why I provide this very specialized guarantee to hedge against those kinds of risks and support African governments before African investors to enter into PPP arrangements. Contracting related guarantees, we are the only DFI in the world that issues contracting related guarantees directly. Other DFIs do that through commercial banks, but we have a trade services desk and we're able to issue contracting related guarantees to help construction companies do more business across Africa. We issue bid bonds, advance payment guarantees, performance bonds, and the likes. And also some of our clients present here today have benefited a lot from these kinds of facilities. We also understand that delivery, it's actually the third pillar of our intra-African trade strategy. Delivery has lots of issues across the continent. So we try to invest and support delivery means, either by providing financing for merchant marine to acquire vessels and acquire ships for marine cargo shipments, or for fleet financing for land transportation for large companies who wants to have a fleet, or for air carriers. We're trying to support some of the air carriers to be able to do more intra-African deliveries. We don't just provide financing, but also we provide trade information advisor services, and I will speak to that later when I talk about our trade intelligence units. We have also other general financing instruments and programs. We do syndications. We have a very efficient syndication team that is able to bring capacity to many African projects that require large amount of financing. So we do syndications, we do note purchasing. We've done that a lot across the continent. Asset-backed lending. We do project-related financing, export development. We have an export development program, construction and tourism linked lake facility, which we do for hotels. We support a lot of hotel construction across the continent. Health and medical tourism financing product designed for the construction of hospitals across the continent. We do industrial parks and export processing zones. This is one of the very robust programs that we have to support industrialization of the continent. We try to support industrial parks to help bring processing capacity to some of the African raw materials. We also support export processing zones and the likes. We have facilitation initiatives. This is our very selected, some of selected initiatives that we have as strategic initiatives of the bank. We have what we call the Appraxim Bank African Collaborative Transit Guarantee. Mobility of goods across the continent also is an issue because of the customs and the regulations. So we try to develop a single transit guarantee or bond that is acceptable by all customs across all African countries so that it eases the movement of goods across the continent. We have already piloted this with the COMESA, and we are in discussions also with the ECOWAS on developing the same. We're currently having a pipeline of transactions of the transit guarantee, which will increase as we move forward. export trading companies. I spoke earlier about the importance and the pivotal role that export trading companies play across the continent. That's why we have also a dedicated program to support the emergence of export trading companies. So we not only finance existing ETCs, we help provide support, whether advisory or financing, to help new export trading companies to emerge, to be able to do more intra-African business. The auto strategy, of course, the automotive business is very crucial. We try to move away from having everywhere second-hand cars by trying to localize the automobile business and manufacturing into the continent. We're starting by helping some African countries develop their automotive policy, like what we're doing with Egypt, for example, and Nigeria. And we try to provide financing to establish manufacturing businesses in Africa to manufacture for the feeding industry of the automotive as a start. We try to provide support to car manufacturers and assemblers. So we really have a very strong automotive policy, and we have dedicated a $1 billion facility that we will disperse over the coming 5 years in support of the automotive business under the FCFTA. The FCFTA Adjustment Fund, I can really say that Appraxim Bank is in the heart of the implementation of the FCFTA. We're working tirelessly and around the clock with the FCFTA Secretariat to help implement the FCFTA agreement. And that's why we're establishing an FCFTA Adjustment Fund in which we provide financing support to African governments to help them adopt the FCFTA agreement and help them compensate for potential revenue losses from implementing the FCFTA agreement, or providing support to economic sectors to help them also adjust by acquiring new technology, training their labor, bringing new production lines to be able to compete and stand on their own in competition with other players in the continent. We are dedicating to mobilize resources for the FCFTA Adjustment Fund for about $8 billion US. And Appraxim Bank is committing $1 billion from its own funds for that purpose. Training on how to export. We have also a very successful program in which we try to train SMEs and export trading companies and African exporters on how to export in Africa. We try to train them on logistics, on market norms, provide advisory services on market information, train them on financing instruments that they need to be able to export. We've done this program in Egypt and Rwanda, in Nigeria, Ghana, and soon we'll be rolling this out in many other African countries. Creative economy, there was also a very interesting initiative that the bank is taking. We understand Africa is rich when it comes to creative economy. It's rich of designers, rich of the African culture is so rich, but it needs to be transformed, needs financial support, need to be institutionalized to be able to provide more support to the GDP of Africa. Look at Bollywood in India, for example, or Hollywood in the US, and how much they are bringing of and support to the GDP and bringing foreign currency into the countries. So we really have very similar capacities on the continent. So we try to provide support, financing support, and facilitation support, and advisory services to these sectors to help them develop and institutionalize to be able to bring more to the continent. And we've also dedicated a $500 million support facility for that purpose. But African payment and our managing director spoke about that briefly in her speech. We're trying to provide a digital solution to payment and settlements across the continent so that Africans can trade in local currencies and lower the dependence on the foreign currency, on the US dollars and the euros. This will be a game changer of the continent and will facilitate many trades across Africa and will help bring informal trade into the formal sector. While with the president of Egypt, while he was chairing the African Union, and currently, and it will be launched very soon for operations. We do have other bank initiatives. This was the initiative in support of intra-African trade and the implementation of the FCFTA, but we do also have other very important initiatives in the bank. I will talk briefly about some of them. We have the Appraxim Bank Trade Facilitation Program, AppTraf, As I said, we're trying to be the trade finance bank for Africa. So we are onboarding the largest number as much as we can of African banks as correspondent banks for Appraxim Bank. And we're giving them lines of credit for various purposes of supporting trade and trade or intra-African trade. Our target is to do AFTRAF with 500 banks across the continent. We're almost there. We've onboarded already 350 banks, but we are on our target to achieve 500 banks. There's also a very important initiative that we do. Mansa platform, we have here a colleague from our Mansa platform. Mansa platform is a KYC and compliance repository platform that is dedicated for the whole of Africa. Many businesses do not happen because of the lack of information about the customers or the lack of compliance information. So we're trying to we've built already this platform to be a single source of KYC information and compliance information for any client or for any bank on the continent. And we urge you all, we have a colleague here from Mansa and we have the brochures of our Mansa platform. I urge you all to take more information about that and register on Mansa platform to be able to benefit from the kind of information that Mansa is providing. Appraxim Bank project preparation facility, we also have our colleague here responsible for that. We understand that many projects in Africa do not happen because they are not at a bankable stage yet. They need many technical studies and feasibility studies and financial engineering to reach a feasibility stage. So we have this dedicated unit specialized in providing financing to projects to become bankable. So we finance feasibility studies, we finance technical studies for projects to become bankable and to reach a stage where banks can provide finance. This is also a very important initiative that we are pursuing. And we're providing a lot of support in this regard to many of our clients. Integrated trade intelligence solutions. That's when I told you that I will speak about later about our trade information advisor services. We have also trade intelligence desk that is specialized in providing market information advisor services to our clients. You can start just from the point. We have a platform that can provide you with simple market information, research information about certain markets, certain commodities, but also can go all the way to providing tailor-made advisor services for a certain company about their products, specific products that they do in certain jurisdictions, certain African markets, and all the way again to doing joint roadshows to help this business grow their footprint in another African country or find local partners to reach out to and grow their business in this area. We've done that with a number of Egyptian companies successfully to help them grow their business in other African countries. Last but not least, let me stress on the Intra-African Trade Fair and do a bit of a promotion to continue what our managing director have already said. This is a very important event that we do every 2 years. It's a huge event that is attended and supported by many African governments, policymakers, businesses, all sorts of stakeholders and players. We've done the first one successfully in Egypt in 2018. The second one was last year in Durban, which was also very successful. And the coming one will be in Cote d'Ivoire, in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire, which we have the brochures for that we can disseminate to you. And we urge you all to participate effectively in this event and attend it. And let me give you some of the facts about the last event and how successful it was. For example, number of exhibitors. We had a target of 1,100. But we achieved 1,500 exhibitors. Country pavilions and exhibitors, we were aiming to attract 40 African countries. We've done 46. For the attendees, we've had a target of 55, and we achieved 128 countries. For trade investment deals concluded, we had a target of 40 billion. We achieved 42 billion. For visitors and buyers, we had a target of 10,000. We had 32,000 visitors. And this was in November last year in Durban. It was a huge success for the bank, a huge success for the continent, and really aiming that the next one will be even more successful. So we count on you all to get more information on that very important event and participate effectively. We invite you all. You will find something of interest definitely for you there to do. And there are a lot of success stories that we can share with you as we talk during our networking event. Thank you very much. Let me conclude by saying that we really thank you so much for coming. My name is Ayman Adzobi. I work with Madame Kanayawani, the Intra-African Trade Initiative. I'm here especially for you. Please reach out to me to discuss business and discuss any financing needs that you have. I'm joined here also by my colleagues from the Intra-African Trade Initiative, my colleague Frederick. Victor Mukiti, please stand up so that you are recognized and people can reach out to you. Mahitab, this is our trade and corporate finance team that is here. Sandra as well from our facilitation team. And also our client relations team. We have Muhammad Said and we have Basim Hamza and we have Zitu and Ayu from project finance and project preparation facility. This is our team here. Please reach out to us, talk to us, engage us. We'll be very happy to do business with you and support you. I hope I've not taken much time. Thank you very much. Really look forward to doing business with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ayman Zoghbi, for your presentation, and thank you for pointing out the persons that we can reach out to in case we need to tackle any questions I've been asked during the break from several Egyptian businessmen participating today. How can they get together with the Angolan side? And there you go. Mr. Ayman Zoghbi and all Appraxim Bank team is ready to help you and assist in the networking that we'll be doing shortly after lunch. Let me now invite His Excellency Tete Antonio, Honorable Minister of External Affairs, Angola, for the closing remarks. And I'd also like to invite His Excellency Nelson Cosme, the Angolan ambassador, for the closing remarks afterwards. But before that, we have Her Excellency. Sorry for that. I missed a major part, obviously. Sorry for that. We will be having now the closing remarks by Her Excellency Ana Paula Sacramento Neto, the Honorable Minister of Youth and Sports, the Republic of Angola. Thank you so much, and excuse me for mixing up the agenda. Please.
Excelência Tete António, Ministro das Relações Exteriores da República de Angola, Excelência Nelson Cosme, Embaixador de Angola na República do Egito, Excelentíssima Senhora Kanayo Awani, Diretora Executiva para a Promoção do Comércio e Investimentos, em representação do Senhor Presidente do Appraxim Bank, senhoras e senhores empresários, distintas autoridades egípcias, estimados participantes, é com o devido reconhecimento de vossas excelências presentes nesta mesa redonda que tomo a palavra para proferir as notas finais. A realização deste evento reflete uma orientação de Sua Excelência, Presidente da República de Angola, João Manuel Gonçalves Lourenço. A sua orientação é para que Angola se desenvolva. Sabemos nós que para o desenvolvimento de uma diplomacia econômica e cada vez mais ativa, é necessário que os povos, que as nações que os empresários de vários países se juntem. E neste caso, estamos a falar de empresários egípcios e não só, e particularmente aqui de quem nos junta nesta sala, o Appraxim Bank. Neste sentido, permitam-me que exprima a minha satisfação de ver um plenário completo de empresários angolanos e egípcios na busca das melhores oportunidades de investimento e reforço das relações diplomáticas e econômicas entre os dois países, Angola e Egito. Felicito os organizadores do evento, em particular a nossa Embaixada de Angola e o Appraxim Bank, pelos resultados alcançados com vista à promoção de investimentos para Angola. Estou ciente de que estão criadas as condições para o início de parcerias mais fortes com o setor empresarial angolano, assim como a nível das instituições aqui representadas. Angola está aberta ao investimento. Bem-haja e muito obrigada a todos.
Thank you again, Your Excellency Ana Paula Sacramento Neto, Honorable Minister of Youth and Sports, the Republic of Angola. Well, I'd like to introduce now His Excellency Nelson Cosme, Angolan Ambassador Extraordinary, and also the plenipotentiary in Egypt for his thank you note. Afterwards, we'll be having a lunch and networking among businesses. Your Excellency, please join us to the stage.
Excelência, Senhora Ministro das Relações Exteriores, Excelência, Senhora Ministra dos Desportos, Excelência, Senhora Doutora Canaio Arraio, não se trata de um discurso, trata-se apenas, em nome dos dois ministros aqui presentes, agradecer realmente a presença de todos vocês. Agradecer a presença de todos vós e, sobretudo, dizer o quanto é realmente gratificante e importante o trabalho conjunto que foi desenvolvido entre o Appraxim Bank e a Embaixada de Angola aqui, em nome do nosso executivo, representado aqui pelos nossos dois ministros. Ficamos satisfeitos, realmente, de que o ministro do Comércio aqui presente se tenha referido que este modelo de cooperação entre Angola e o Appraxim Bank podia ser um modelo inspirador para que o Appraxim Bank pudesse desenvolver o mesmo tipo de promoção de investimento com os outros países africanos. Quero simplesmente, mais uma vez, agradecer a presença de todos e dizer que a Embaixada de Angola estará disponível para continuar e perpetuar este vosso diálogo entre homens de negócios egípcios e homens de negócios angolanos. Muito obrigado.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, and thank you, Embassy of Angola, for co-sponsoring this event with Appraxim Bank. This concludes our program, but we'll be watching again the video, the corporate video for Appraxim Bank. We'll be doing so, and afterwards lunch will be served right here in the hall. You'll be having a chance for networking and discussing business. And if you have any questions, Appraxim Bank team is seated in the middle, as Mr. Ayman al-Zoghbi pointed. There are many persons you can reach out to in case you have any queries or any questions. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the day.
It's about all-important work, creating projects, mobilizing public and private sectors, and innovating at every turn to make Africa better, stronger, and more competitive on the international stage. Then, in late 2015, our current president took up the mantle, determined to build on the foundation laid by his predecessors to accelerate intra-African trade, power industrialization coast to coast, provide leadership in African trade finance, and deliver a financially sound and high-performing bank, and ultimately transform Africa's economies. He and his management team responded to the continent's needs, found resolutions through skill, partnership, and diplomacy, and stood by African nations in good times and bad. And the consequence, the number of participating nations went from 37 to 51. Appraxim Bank proved itself worthy of Africa's trust by supporting many African economies during the global commodity crisis of 2015 and 2016, and helping African countries deal with the impact of COVID-19 pandemic through its pandemic trade impact mitigation facility and other COVID-19 interventions to meet the urgent need for food and medical supplies. Working in collaboration with the Africa CDC, AU Special Envoys, and other partners, Appraxim Bank has put in place a facility of $2 billion to support African countries with the procurement of vaccines. Appraxim Bank became Africa's critical partner in bringing to life the historic African Continental Free Trade Agreement. We founded the biennial Intra-Africa Trade Fair to make the unified continental market a reality, the African Trade Gateway, a digital ecosystem to leapfrog obstacles to intra-African trade, and the Intra-African Trade Champions Initiative to help African corporates win and execute deals worth over $5 billion to lead Africa's transformation. In this same period, we expanded access to trade-related infrastructure, increased support for small and medium-sized enterprises, and in just the last 2 years, the bank has financed new manufacturing capacities worth over $1 billion. Appraxim Bank is also helping to transform Africa's industrial landscape by financing the development of industrial parks, special economic zones, and the creation of manufacturing capacities, creating an enabling environment for the smooth conduct of intra-Africa trade through the development of Africa Quality Assurance Centers in various regions, and leading the initiative to promote medical tourism within Africa by championing the construction of the Africa Medical Center of Excellence, which would directly impact approximately $20 billion annually in external payments for medical services. Appraxim Bank today leads the way as Africa's foremost trade finance institution. As of December 2020, we have onboarded 448 African banks, with 128 of them already participating in Appraxim Bank's Trade Facilitation Program. Appraxim Bank's trade finance related disbursements in 2020 hit $10.9 billion, narrowing Africa's trade finance gap by 13%. The lives of Africa's 1.2 billion people are being transformed steadily every day in so many ways, creating millions of jobs through our financing programs and investments in industrial infrastructure such as the Gabon Special Economic Zone mineral ports, increasing port volumes from 1.7 metric tons to over 5.4 metric tons, improving medical care in Liberia thanks to Appraxim Bank's ultra-modern medical facility, and bringing hope to isolated communities in South Sudan through improved access to clean energy. Through these and many more projects, and in pursuit of our continental mission, we did not compromise on financial performance and soundness. From 2015 to 2020, our net income almost tripled from $125 million to $351 million. Total assets and guarantees rose from $7.6 billion to $20.4 billion. The aggregate dividends declared to shareholders was $360 million. And for the first time in 2019 and again in 2020, the bank's revenues exceeded $1 billion. Whatever the future holds, Appraxim Bank will be ready to rise to the challenge, inspired by its mandate and its renewed commitments from African governments, determined to succeed, resolute in our commitments to foster an integrated continent with a strong industrial base, serving the world's largest contiguous single market. The journey continues. To discover more, join us on our journey. Visit us at www.appraximbank.com.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I do hope you enjoy your lunch. Just a quick note, on your tables,